Your participation is important.
Well, definitely your participation is important, but that will come later on the program. And of course, my name is Lance Sannie. A very lovely morning to you and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue program. I am sitting in for Zachariah Banda. I'm sitting in for Zachariah Banda, and of course, let me make mention that we are also live on our partner radio stations. That is Spice FM, broadcasting on 91.1 FM in Central Province. Also live in Luapula Province. That's on Tuta Radio, broadcasting on 90.7 FM. And also in the Copperbelt Province, we are live via Platinum Radio on 99.7 FM. And also in the Eastern Province, live on Katete FM, broadcasting on 103.3 FM. And still back in Central Province via ZFM, we are also live, broadcasting on 100.3. And also we are live on our Facebook page, 5FM Radio Zambia, as well as also share this broadcast. And do not forget to leave us a comment, broadcast, share your views, and ask your guest this morning. Also live on our YouTube channel, 5FM Radio Zambia. Not forgetting live also on our UPND page that's on Facebook. Of course, that gives you a hint on who my guest is coming from. And let me take this time to introduce my guest. His name is Sikwiindi Situla, who is the UPND Deputy Media Director. Mr. Situla, good morning and welcome to 5FM Radio.
Good morning, Lance. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be on 5FM Radio. And apparently, I just realized I've never been to this station. Do you know that?
Have you never been?
No.
Well, I think you and me have crossed paths many times. And I think, you've been here.
So really, yeah, it's good to be here.
Well, good to have you. And since it's your first time, let's get to at least acquaint our dear listener on who exactly is Sikwiindi Situla. Let's get to have a background look on your political career.
Oh, sure. I happen to have been, part of the people, the young people that were jostling, around the formation of the UPND in 1997-98. So I've been a member of, I first joined UPND, if you like, at the inception, in 1998. And I have, I was privileged, when President Mazoka, was, alive, before around 2004-05, somewhere there.
Okay.
To participate in the electoral process, we had what we used to call the provincial assemblies. And so I stood as Deputy Secretary General. Of course, I was, blessed, to win elections. Of course, the rest is history. So much later, came to serve as Deputy Secretary General, indeed, and being appointed by President Hakainde Hichilema, to take on, that responsibility. So I was, Deputy Secretary General in charge of political affairs. And I, again, privileged enough, to have been given two other responsibilities added to, that position, which is basically that I was the president's, campaign coordinator and, by virtue of that position, a strategist too, and opening the Liwala Campaign Center for UPND. And then from there, I was also, given the responsibility of being the coordinator for international affairs.
Okay.
So I had 3 positions in UPND, which I, greatly appreciate. And since then, the many twists and turns would be a book-long, endeavor. If we have to talk about me, I have my own ups and downs and so on and so forth. So, but fast forward to where we are now. I'm now Deputy Media Director for the party. And just for the record, because we hold these political positions, we must be truthful to say what is in our hearts. And in my heart is a deep appreciation for the opportunity that the president and the rest of the comrades in there have given me, the responsibility of being Deputy Media Director. I greatly appreciate, and I'm ready to serve at any position, I must re-emphasize that even if today you ask me to be ward chairman of UPND, I'll do it with honor.
Okay.
I greatly, I greatly appreciate service.
Well, so let's get to look at your work so far as a deputy media director. It's not so long ago that you were appointed. How is it going in your office? And let's have a look at the job description of your office. Are you responding to, or are you responsible for each and every communication that is coming from the party, taking it as the party position on certain issues and certain things, or you are just basically there to probably react to what the opposition is doing?
Well, first of all, Lance, we need to honest to ourselves. It's unto ourselves. The truth of the matter is that a political organization, a political party, is a large body, with many people, many members. And so to organize and to order communication in a way that does not, bring, challenges and difficulties, this was thought of and established as such, that we must all sort of, have a clear path of communication. And, that reinforces or presupposes that it would create, a free flow of information from the party to the people and from the people to the party. And I think that so far our work has been extremely telling. I have a media director who's very, robust, who's well engaged. You've seen his works. We work together in a manner that reinforces the image of the party and basically, communicates the achievements the party has done, as well as take lessons back and forth where necessary, to make sure that, our party, is taken, in the space of trust and seriousness in the delivery of its, promises to the Zambian people. So definitely, communication sits at the core of what founds and forms and informs the party. So that's where we are, and we're doing our utmost in that direction. I know we could have done better. We could still do better. Perhaps for a long time before now, we ourselves, sort of neglected in inverted commas the media aspect, because maybe we were so involved with trying to make sure that we deal with the most painstaking exercise or moments, that was basically to deal with the economy and so on and so forth. But I think that it is important to communicate effectively with the Zambian people, not to them, but with them. With the Zambian people. And I emphasize that, communication must not be that we speak towards or to the people, but we speak with them so that they are part of the process, that informs our, communication. So the bottom line is that I think there's also room to improve. We've done a lot and we continue to do a lot. And I think that we're at a trajectory where, first of all, I've always said President Hakainde Hichilema, in my view, is the best president ever given, in this country. And I can tell you the reasons why. And this is something that we are happy to say with pride, because I think is a person who's slow to anger, is a person who is highly informed of his own vision of delivering development to the Zambian people, and swayed. He doesn't waver. He doesn't veer away from that responsibility. He is one that is taking that responsibility, very, seriously. And if you look at where we were and where we are today as a country, kudos will go to him. I know that there are people who would love to politic, and politics has its own place in this, kind of discourse. But the bottom line is President Hakainde Hichilema has done what Napoleon failed to do.
Well, since you've already gotten into it, let's get straight ahead in it. 4 years of the UPND rule now. let's get to look at probably the achievements and the non-achievements that you have garnered so far.
Yeah.
Let's look at the 4 years of the UPND leadership or helm of this country.
It's illustrious.
Okay.
It's not easy to even, summarize, the achievements that President Hakainde Hichilema has delivered to the Zambian people. Proudly so. And first of all, the start-off point was this country was in bad shape when it comes to just political stability. At every twist and turn, you had violent activities, whether intra-party or inter-party. Given Lubinda was beaten by cadres, his own cadres, and he had to take them to court. Now that is indiscipline. Now, that in itself bespeaks of a failing system in terms of governance. It can never be democracy that you beat another person. It can't be. So that's just that as a starting point. Hooliganism had its place in this place. It was celebrated. Thieving was celebrated. If you steal, you become a hero. Here we are talking about $11 million being stolen from the state using presidential infrastructure. Using presidential infrastructure. You get the private jet, the jet of the president, the official jet of the president, to go to a country, to go and get the money that belongs to the Zambian people and personalize it. That's a scandal. The scandal. There's no better way to explain that. Now, you can go further with all that. People were being shot in cold blood. And we shouldn't forget that all these are heinous crimes. That's where we were. If you are considered indifferent in the political discourse, you must be beaten. Sometimes they would walk on your door and beat the hell out of you in the full view of your children for political differences. Now, the country really had to be ordered to some sense of stability. And it had to take somebody with a calm heart. President Hakainde Hichilema, after having suffered severely, so much at the hands of his opponents, being beaten, gassed in your own house, tear gassed in your own house, and beaten, and the rest are unpalatables, where people defecate, on your own bed. Now, that was really a serious problem, of affliction to all of us. Now, you can leave that alone. You can go into the kind of elections you would have, and so on and so forth. But I don't want to go so much into this story, because if you notice, we are still mourning up to now.
Yeah.
So I do not want us to, go into, matters that will start, pointing at individuals who were once at the helm of running this country.
Well, let's not look at individuals. And just in what you've mentioned, there seemed not to be a difference with where we are coming from, because immediately the UPND party took over the helm of this country, we saw videos coming out of purported PF cadres being beaten by the UPND cadres. At some point, also, we have seen extrajudicial killings still continuing. It's not not like the police have stopped shooting people. We've seen this still happening, even in this regime. Plus, also on top of it, these corruption scandals have still continued. Let's look at the recent Zamsa, scandal. We have the Kenneth Kaunda Gate scandal, and all these scandals are still here with us. It seems like we just changed the political party, but these things have still continued.
Okay, maybe let's start from the point of view of the narrow divide. Okay, there's a very narrow divide between these the so-called challenges being perpetrated by those in high stations and otherwise being part of society. Let's first of all start with the arguments of, as you say, purported. And so let's leave it as such, that purported, because not everything you see in this space, they are trickeries. People wear this and wear this to show that they are this and so on and so forth. There are trickeries all over the show. We know the hymn book, or they say the modus operandi of some of these political parties, how they operate. So let's leave that. But you have a point. Did Zambia suddenly become the kingdom of God, when President Hakainde Hichilema took over? No. Will it be a kingdom of God even as at the point where he lives? No. But what is it that parts the waters? What draws the difference for us? What puts in the divide is the aspiration of those in leadership to rid this society of corruption, to rid this society of regionalism, favoritism, and beating people into submission. Rid this, society, and this nation of, basically innuendo politics of basically games rather than focusing on the deliverables and the name calling. We are engaged in politics of, let's have a discourse where you argue based on the policy propositions that one has, or the policy establishments that are being rolled out that you must speak to. So what is, interesting is, to date, you do not get the opposition tell you what is alternative to what is obtaining at the moment. The bottom line is that go and ask. You had to be charged 3,000 kwacha to just put a booth. That's what PF was doing. So we can pick that as an element and see if there's anyone from the party who's actually charging people to 3,000 kwacha to lay the booth. There are other deliverables, which you can marry to that. Today, councils are collecting money. And today, we are in a situation where, we had a situation where individuals, there are matters before the law. But generally, there are individuals who would collect money, that the money that the council is supposed to collect, and privatize that money, if you like. They make it theirs. This is not happening. Today you have got, let's go back into the works of the council itself. There's no one who's being, hounded out from their position in an unceremonious manner, in a cadre, in a negative cadre, mentality. So you have stability, which you need to begin re-establishing this country on a footpath, to recovery.
Exactly.
And where we can experience the living of life as one people, being beautiful together, I always call it. And talking about being beautiful together, the president elected, the moment he got elected, he chose to construct cabinet out of the consciousness of unity building, of reaching out to all the regions and ensuring that everybody is part of the outlook of government in this country. That alone, just that alone, cures what has been the malignant problem of politics in this area, which is basically, doing politics from a tribal lens. So that is the cure. If you go further, you will find that CDF was reconstructed. So much money was put into CDF. There is no constituency which is considered, indifferent or alien or foreign, that it must receive less than all others. But we used to have these things where some constituencies are not given money and others are given money. So why wouldn't we appreciate that as a huge achievement in this country? We've had the situations where if somebody just, because they are powerfully connected, they whisper that it is so and so, it belongs to the opposition, take them out. They would be taken out without any due process whatsoever. Now, all these things are matters that speak to a nationalist, being in State House. And we are so proud of him. And we are happy that God, afforded us an opportunity to have a president of great regard to all others. We used to hear in PF the pro-poor government. But I think that the real pro-poor government is in place now, which says you must, every child, regardless of where they come from, the social status, the tribe, the region, the religion, they have a right to free education. And it's retirees have to be paid. There will not be names, first of all, said, no, you need this kind of names, first of all, to be paid. No. Everybody is paid. That's nation building. And we dare not disturb this kind of foundation, because this country is now destined for greatness. How? By way of respecting everybody, by being fair, by applying equality and equity, the principle of equality and equity, in a manner that does not basically look at the color of the eyes, at the color of the face, at the the texture of the language one speaks, if you want, but basically looking at Zambians as Zambians, and with empathy and sympathy and everything of a patriotic nature, attend to each one of them with their due regard, citizenship.
Let's take a deep dive in what you've mentioned, free education.
Yes, sir.
A very good policy, yes, by the UPND government, but a number of people out there feel that it was taken in a haste, not looking at the challenges that it would come with, as well as also not looking at how it can be properly managed. Quite overwhelming response coming through from the Zambian people, Zambian parents, taking their children to this free education. But then you have overpopulated classrooms with a teacher-pupil ratio being the highest so far because of, yes, the overwhelming response. And then also, there's also a shortage of desks, as well as this brings about the low quality of education, because obviously you cannot expect one teacher overlooking a number of 60 to 70 pupils in a day doing the most in terms of giving proper education, proper quality education to these children. What is your take on this, and how best are you ensuring that whatever challenges that this free education is facing are going to be a thing of the past in the near future?
Lance, my take is, first of all, that the people with grade 12 certificates in this country are less than 10% of the entire population. So we are in a hurry to educate everyone. We must be in a hurry to educate people. Now, those of us who grew up in the village, do you know there are people today who have PhDs and were learning through not the classroom as you put it, but under a tree?
But at least the teacher-pupil ratio was okay.
Well, if you talk about the teacher-pupil ratio, you should actually be saying, who has ever employed over 11,000?
That is not enough. You still
Over
have
30,000.
You still have more people.
Yes.
than
So
teachers.
now that is not the problem of the one who has employed more. Now that is a problem of saying we were really very far. That is a problem of saying we wish we had this kind of president far earlier than today, rather than vilify and bring petrify, to the person, who has done his best and whose best is an unbeaten record in the entire country. So our thinking must be in order. You have a person who has done the best within a short time, 4 years, has done what many others failed to do over many, many years. And then you want to vilify him. No, Bwana. This man has done a lot by simply giving us an opportunity to go to school for free. Just that. Before we talk about how many teachers we are going to find, before we talk about how many desks we are going to find, before we talk about whether there's a classroom we are going to find or not. Because anybody who is interested to learn will tell you, even if it's learning under a tree, as long as there's a teacher there, even if it's learning under the candle, under a firewood, I am going to learn. So we need, again, to change our mindset as Zambians, to see what is important and separate what is important from what is basically, wishful thinking. The truth of the matter is our population needs education. And we have provided, so many teachers to teach these children. The number has surged because of free education. That means that our people really want, desire, and have been hungry for a long time to be educated.
It must be quality education. And there's word out there.
That is what talks about quality. What speaks to quality, first of all, is the very fact that you have given somebody who had no opportunity an opportunity. That's a first step of quality, because you will not talk about quality when first of all, an opportunity is restricted to the rich and upper mwamba.
Speaking of this restriction,
yes,
there's word out there that because you, the UPND members, know to say there's low quality education in the public schools because it's free education, you've decided to take your kids to private schools.
I don't know whose kids. All my children have been educated in government schools, not even anything else. All of them. I don't know what it means, to take someone to a private, school. It's up to you. It's your choice. If you can afford it, go. But as for me, I can't afford it. All my children go in government schools. And believe you me, they pass in government schools. I have a daughter now at the University of Zambia. She never stepped in a private school. She passed. So when you talk about quality, there is quality. Quality means that if an exam comes, there are now more children passing. That's how you make quality, boss. There are now more children with the access. Shouldn't we go on, finding solutions in terms of making it even more easier, making education more likable, and so on and so forth? Yes, we must go on. But that's where you and me come in, to continue supporting a system that will continue to open the horizon for people to get educated. UPND did not leave it at just that. That's why CDF was created. The desks are being made under CDF. Classrooms are being made under CDF to support the education endeavor. That's what is going on. What else? Feeding in schools. Now, we used to walk distances. I don't know whether you've ever heard of somebody going to a weekly boarding school. We had colleagues where you walk, a distance of over 40 kilometers to go to school. Those who are lucky, 20 kilometers to go to school. So they have to go there on a Sunday, and they'll be in school from Monday to Friday. Saturday they walk back to go and look for food again and come. And today, if you look at some of those people who did that, they have doctors. That's the hardships that people had to go through to get, this education. Now we are being told, it was paining to see somebody who says, pantu it was painful. And they are brilliant. Now the president has said, we must give each child an opportunity. Now, that's not politicking. That's development delivery. We have to be strong to deliver development. That's where we are. So bottom line is, there is nothing you can blame about this education policy. There's nothing you can blame about this deliverable. There's everything we need to pay our gratitude on and encourage. And this is not to say that the president and all of us in UPND want Zambians to stand on anti-use and start clapping for us. No. We are only saying, let's do it together. Let's appreciate that it's a good thing. And we can work together to do more in this space and many other spaces. For this time in a long time, we have got a political party that is genuinely, engaged in the cares of the people and is working hard, extremely hard, to ensure that the goodies reach everybody, in a manner that we know very well that in a few years from now, we'll look back at it and say, our hack back at that would have been the best, if we could bring back the same man to come and lead us.
Well, the UPND, you are calling CDF as a game changer. Obviously, this is due to the fact that it has been decentralized and increased from the inaugural 1.6 million kwacha to 36.1 million kwacha for each constituency. Now, let's take a deep look into it. When you come to urban areas, this CDF is nothing to clap about, because there's nothing that you would point at and look at to say, this is what CDF has done. But obviously, when you go to rural areas, it has made a huge difference. We've seen MPs coming out appreciating it and obviously calling for even an increase into it. Sports Minister Elvis Nkandu said that, or is advocating for that. But let's take a look at these urban areas, and CDF looks like it's a looting lot for the ruling party, because we've seen loans not being paid back, to where they're supposed to be paid back. And there's really nothing to point at for CDF in these urban areas. So how is it a game changer?
So let's start with the culture of not paying back loans.
These mostly, the opposition says people that are getting loans are party members of the UPND. No.
You see, let's face facts. The issue of not paying back loans, at least I was old enough during Kaunda's time. And there was no UPND formed then. This is something that, UNIP grappled with. Go in the MMD. This is something that MMD grappled with. Go in the PF. This is something that PF grappled with. Are we still grappling with it? Yes, we're still grappling with it. Does that mean, it's UPND members? No. It means we have got to change our culture as Zambians when it comes to borrowing and servicing, our debt. It's a culture that we need to deal with. We need to encourage ourselves out of, the miasma of borrowing for consumption also. Or you borrow money, instead of investing the money, you go and buy expensive cars. Okay? It's the same thing with contracts. It's a culture that we have to deal with ourselves. But let's go back to the CDF, as you say. A huge acclaim indeed. Now, if you talk about, CDF in the urban areas, now that's a question that I put forth to you. What is different between the urban area and the rural areas. And by the way, a lot of people think that there are no people there are now too many people in the rural areas as well. Just Mumbwa here, if you go to Mumbwa, the kind of people you find now, it's amazing. So peri-urban and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is that CDF is still and will continue to be a game changer in the foreseeable future, even beyond UPND. If it's managed properly, we will see that CDF is actually something that is a requirement that every party must keep, because there's no better thing than to take power and resources back to the people and make them be participants in the delivery of development in their localities. There's nothing better than that. You cannot be sitting in Lusaka planning for people in Kaputa all the time and expect goodies to follow. No, I think that power must be shared, resources must be shared in a manner that would support the local agenda. If their capacity is required, gaps are established in the CDF, we must repair those gaps. We must reconstruct that to make it even a more effective vehicle. Lessons will be drawn, and lessons are being drawn, and there's no ignoring that fact from our end, that even as CDF sits today, UPND has lessons over this CDF on how to do it better. We'll always think about how best can it be delivered so that it works for the Zambian people. But most of the problem that you have in the urban areas is basically matters of dispensing these resources. It's matters of the local councils and the local leadership. And if you notice, in most areas where these are problematic, is areas that are held by the opposition. So now that starts telling you what the kind of problem that you have. I think we mustn't sort of play around with development when it comes to things of this nature, casting them into political, defendable political posts. We need to be able to know what is development, and we must take away politics from it and ensure that there's a bridge for people to be able to cross that river, and ensure that there's a classroom for people to go to school, and ensure that there's an ablution block so that our people have healthier and safer environs through which they can help themselves. We need to do all those things, and how to do that, money and the legal framework has been given to us at a local base, which is the smallest unit in the ward development committee, to be able to pronounce those priorities and carry them forward and see to it that our people live better lives. For me, actually, this administration deserves an award for that. Just like I think that President Hakainde Hichilema deserves an award for navigating us through the most difficult time, the tide of hunger that had set in as a result of drought, through which not a single person died of hunger. Why? Because he was able to provide relief at the right time, in the right point, in the most efficient manner, but also code in the element of people learning to work for what they eat. It gives you pride that you worked for a bag of maize and therefore you are eating it because you worked for it. So again, it's a sense to keep the balance, the delicate balance between where the need is and where there's also supposed to be a responsibility, a contribution of some kind from an individual. I think for me, it deserves an award, in that respect. And, we as Zambians must learn to encourage our leaders when they do good.
This is the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue radio program on 5FM Radio, and my guest this morning is the UPND Deputy Media Director, Mr. Sikwiindi Situla, and we are discussing everything the UPND, what they've done in the 4 years, and also what follows in the possible future, or in the next possible future. Now, Mr. Situla, I would love to bring you into this context. When getting into power, the UPND promised the Zambian people a number of things, or made a lot of promises, of which I would love to pick one. And let's get to look at this challenge. How has it been a challenge, and what you are doing as a party to ensure that you deliver on it? Because as where we stand, it seems not to have been delivered. So you promised the Zambian people that you were going to lower the cost of living for them. But then 4 years down the line, the cost of living seems to either soar up or still be the same as you found it. But obviously, one would argue to say it's been going up. Currently, according to the basic needs food basket, for a family of 5 living in Lusaka, for them to survive a month, at least they have to spend more than 10,000 kwacha for them to survive a month. And when you came into power, you said you were going to lower this cost. What seems to be the challenge?
Well, lowering the cost of living, and I was actually going to ask you what you consider lowering the cost of, what you consider the cost of living. Because I think that sometimes we've got these terminologies, and we use them, with contriving different meaning, to, as one may see and please. Now, if your father or your uncle or yourself indeed are employed, and you've been having challenges of finances, and the president gives you partial retirement package, so it allows you to have a sensible lump sum for you to be able to invest or reinvest or get into to sort out some of your problems. Doesn't that support your cost of living? It does, sir. If you are not been employed for a long time, or you have in your family you have a teacher who has been employed, or a nurse or a doctor who was jobless, now they are earning something, doesn't that support the cost of living? It does. If you used to pay when taking your children to school, now your children are going to go for free. Doesn't that support the cost of living? It does, sir. If you have got a daughter, a son, or a relative who is at UNZA or any higher, tertiary, pursuing tertiary, education, who could not afford, and now they are being given, they are covered, handsomely by way of, one, the school loan. The other part is that they have their meal allowance reinstated. Isn't that a direct support to your cost of living? Yes. If you look at the exchange rate coming down, doesn't that support the cost of living? It does. If you look at mines that were closed and now have been reopened and more people employed, doesn't that support the cost of living? It does. If you look at the agriculture setup where loans were being given, if you work, you can get a loan to go and practice agriculture. Doesn't that support the cost of living? It does. If you look at the market booster loan that has been given, doesn't that support the cost of living? Yes, it does. If you look at various elements at that are supported by CEEC right now, including investment opportunities into solar farms, if you get that loan, doesn't that support the cost of living, Webantu? It does. So when you talk about the cost of living, what we should be talking about right now, and we should fully acknowledge, is that we have got far less people who work, okay, compared to the rest of the people who are not in gainful employment. So how was that attended to, and how is that endeavor, considered supreme? The president has put in a lot of effort to make sure that employment and recruitment, where there was a wage freeze, by PF, there's now an employment opportunity. Where it was difficult for you to trade in a market unless you belong to a particular political party and would pay, now there's free space for you to trade. Where you basically could not afford to have a classroom near you, Now classrooms are being brought closer to you. All these elements, when you look at them, they support the grand idea of reducing the cost of living. What else has been put in place? We have treated agriculture as a business. So you and me, Lance, can look for some traditional land and elect to produce food. First for ourselves, secondly for selling. Why? Because now it is marketable. You've got commercial, good market prices when it comes to produce. Anything you grow in this country or anything you rear in an agriculture farm in this country will give you a lot of money. Recently, you saw the reports about, opening up the markets as much, into Congo for beef exports. You saw the permanent secretary from Congo coming to inspect, our meat, processing, in this country. That's a huge market for you and me. Now, if you've got a 10-hectare, even just a 5-hectare plot, you can start saying, look, how many animals can I put there? Even if you have 5 animals, you are good enough. So we need to learn to bring, and that's where the endeavor is. Our problem, which we are all grappling with, beyond the, UPND, is that how can we get all the Zambians into some level of production where they can produce and earn a living from there, and therefore contribute in a way to the restructuring of our home, based economics. That's where the problem is. We have far too many people who are basically going to stand and wait for somebody else to help them. Now, the challenges are a cascade of so many problems that we faced before, in the past. But the bottom line is that people must have an opportunity to produce. So, which other opportunities have been given to you that should speak to the lowering of the cost of living? Trade schools. You can now say, okay, let me go and train as a caterpillar, driver or operator. And there's support through CDF for you to do that. So if you were not able to take your child to Lusaka Trades, now there's an opportunity that they will go there for free. Now, when you look at all these things, there's no one who has ever done these things in this country, in a long time. Chipalide, if you are shupa, what is a problem right now is that we turefuayo kumona kanofe bayama. You do not want, you just expect development from your kinsmen. No. We are all Zambians. We must love one another. And when you go to the hospital, don't ask first, this doctor, what tribe is this doctor? No. Simply go in there and get attended to by a doctor, Mkwai. Then you get things done. That's where we are.
You asked me a question, what is the cost of living? Let me give you a very basic definition by the Zambian people. So if I'm getting paid 300 kwacha every month and sort costs me 10 kwacha to get for me to go a month with it, and then the UPND comes into power, it moves from 10 kwacha to 15 kwacha. The cost of living has gone up for me because basically goods and services have gone higher than what I was spending before the UPND government comes into power. Okay. That's very basic. Yeah, so now let's drop it down to an average Zambian. Let's look at somebody who is working Kuma Industries Kulia. I
have an answer for you, Lance.
Yes.
I have an answer for you.
Well, not for me, for the Zambian people.
Yeah, well, you are speaking on behalf of the Zambian people. I have an answer for you. Mm-hmm. First of all, those that have been employed by government, what government did to ensure that we are attending to the cost of living was increase pay. Hasn't that been done in this country right now under this administration? People get better money now under this administration. Not only do they get better money, they get their pay on time. Councils which used to go for years without being paid, they are now being paid and being paid a better salary than what they used to do. That is what government can do to lower the cost of living, not so. apart from providing free education and making sure that all other services are provided for. We've also provided a ministry to support entrepreneurship, so that even when you work, Lance, don't depend on working. Look, a lot of people don't know that, working doesn't make you rich. What can make you rich is doing a business, engaging into some production, farming, and so other things. So even when you work here at 5FM Lands, you must have a small piece of land where you are practicing a bit of agriculture. We must encourage our people to go into the spirit of entrepreneurship. We encourage the spirit of forming cooperatives and, being active, participants in looking for solutions and moving away from handouts. That is helpful, in the short, term, as well as in the long, term sense. We must have more people into businesses and more people into means of production, into driving or operationalizing means of production, which is land. So if you do not want to own land and practice agriculture, then you are just, calling on to the case of poverty on yourself and your family. That's not the only thing. We must also learn to work. Now, we have no control, Lance, over what you and your maid agree as a salary, other than the basic minimums of what do you call the regulated, ways, the minimum pay,
the minimum wage.
Yes. So other than that, we have no control in that respect of everything that you do, in that space. Now, there's something else that we need to address. If I have a low-paying job, the question you and I must ask, ourselves is, why do I have a low-paying job? Maybe what I need to do is upgrade my education. Maybe what I need to do is gain extra skills. I often tell people, that I learned how to do graphic designs. And I earn money from designing graphics at home. I'll sit, do graphics, and people pay me, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 if I have a very big report. And I'll earn a living from that. It's an extra skill that I've developed over the years, so that it's a survival skill. Now, even if you're a doctor, you're a medical doctor, you can also learn other survival skills so that you can fall back on them. Things that won't require you, to be employed by somebody rather than you self-employ. So we have to reconstruct our minds, when it comes to this space, so that, we must also learn to work. And Zambians, must be encouraged to till the land. Even God said that now that you have sinned, you shall surely need to learn in order to eat. We shouldn't be ahead of encouraging one another to become hard workers. Even in our national anthem, it's a land of work and joy, isn't it? So we must work in order for us to reap joy. And this can only come if we encourage one another to understand the means of production and go back to the land and do the basics in that respect, and so on and so forth. So if you are every day going up in the street, lining in the street, and hoping that your pay will improve, it won't happen, sir. And I've just told you earlier that we have got far too many people who are in the informal side of things, who are not formally employed. And it's also a struggle to sustain the tax arrangement, of such, an establishment in the nation, where a few people will contribute. And I think that's the reason why you had the value-added tax setting in earlier, even before, we came. So much that, it should help people. It should help the government capture even from the informal sector. The informal sector right now, there are many people are doing more things in the informal sector, and all of us have to learn, what they do and do it best for the survival of our families and going into the future.
So many young people, like you say, one has to do business apart from the little work that they're doing in the formal sector. So many young people would really love to start businesses in this country. But then The cost of doing business is not friendly in this country because, first of all, LCC will charge you 8,000 kwacha for business levy. You have not yet started doing business. They require that from you. ZRA also requires something from you. You have PACRA, you have ZICTA, depending on whatever business that you're doing. You have to pay all these taxes before you even start gaining or making a profit, or before your business even starts to be something that it can be considered as a business that will get probably its goods and services out there. The cost of doing business is very high.
Yeah.
The environment is not friendly. How
It's
do they come in and start these businesses? As you are saying, they should get in the business sector.
The problem that we have is that we have a deficit. We are defeated before we start.
How do I start? I don't
defeatist
have the
mind.
8,000.
No.
LCC
So you
requires.
don't go into a business that requires you to start with, so much capital. So you don't do that. So you have to think, what can I do for less and gain value in order for me to do something that will even give me more value? So we have to go into business planning. I just told you. I gave you an example of myself, because maybe if I take someone's example, it might not sound, true to you. But I had to learn graphics. I just needed a computer and reading and understanding. Why? Because I already knew that one of the strengths that I have is that I'm artistic. So I go back to what I see as my talent and see the best out of there. I've built a whole one flat myself out of graphics over the years. It takes a long time, but it supports me in my time of need. I'm giving myself as an example so that we can encourage other people to be able to do things that they do. I know a lot of young people who made it in this area, in film production, in many other things, because that's their forte. But if it's not, if you're not good at that, I also know a lot of young people who made it in trading. I know a lot of other people who have become millionaires in transport. But when you go into the transportation, you won't make it. I know a lot of young people, who have made it in various, areas of their talent, endowment, including music, including football. So you do not start. Even the Bible says, don't wait until the weather is right for you to sow a seed. No. The issue is that we have to encourage our nation to produce. What government has done is more than good enough for us to be able to embark on a journey of self-sufficiency.
As if levies are not enough for a small business entrepreneur.
There are still many small businesses that have survived with that same issue in question. There are many, I've seen them. So when it sounds like a prohibiting factor, to you, to other people, many actually. If you look at our small and medium enterprises, they are the majority. The number is the biggest in this country. And they employ more people.
And they are getting closed up because they are failing to pay. But anyway,
they are thriving now. I'm telling you, they are thriving. They are thriving. It's the spirit of entrepreneurship we must encourage. It's never easy. If it were easy, then everybody would be rich. But we have to endeavor to keep our feet to the fire in order for us to get where we want to go.
Exactly. So here is another challenge for these same SMEs. Here comes load shedding.
Very good.
You go 4 days without power.
Very good.
I know of people in the area, they haven't seen power for 8 days.
Let's talk about load shedding. First of all, let's start from the point of view of load shedding is not just something that dropped today and then there is load shedding. Let's start from the beginning. The beginning being, when this country got independent in 1964, do you know how many people were in this country? Can you give it a guess?
1,000 maybe?
Well, you are very what do you call it? The
elaborate?
No. Conservative.
Okay.
Yeah, you are being conservative. Well, it was 3 million people. Now compare 3 million people with what you have today. So you had 3 million people, ZESCO and all these other activities, all these power structures that we had, have not really changed that much since that time. It's now that you are getting people to do things. We wake up too late sometimes. We wake up too late sometimes. But what is it that has been done, even in seemingly hard moments where you seem not to have a resolution to a problem? Here's what this president has done. Let's talk about what he has done. First of all, you saw him worry about going into Mamba when, load shedding came back to a head. Okay? He went there to restructure, to try and get these things, going. But let me talk about what is obtaining, what is there now. Over or around 500 million was given to Mamba, collieries, so that they are able. That was the debt we owed. It was paid to them with a deal at the end. What kind of deal? To help them, expand. Mamba colliery would produce 300 megawatts. Now we can expect that they will go into 600 megawatts. The problem is that we have been overly dependent on hydro production of electricity. Okay? We have other assets like coal that we didn't really push that far. Until now, we're talking about Mamba collieries in this light, in this particular. There could be something coming up. There should be something coming up in Sinazeze, to support that as well. But the real solution also lies with the solar, solutions. If you notice, the president has been crisscrossing the world and running around this country to try and make sure that we've got solar plants that can contribute even up to 1,000 megawatts eventually to the economy. Now, those did not just fall from without. There's a policy consideration. There's a commitment from the head of state, trying to resolve our problem. But as though that, would be the only solution, we shouldn't forget the fact that the demand for power has also increased. We now have nitrogen chemicals of Zambia ramping up production. What that means is that they now consume more power than was the case a long time ago. In the opening up of freeing and extrication of the extractive industry, the mines, and so on and so forth, also calls for more power. We have had to make sure that we actually pull back on power export from all the neighboring countries. In some cases, we've completely stopped exporting to some given countries in order to save power for the Zambian. So the Zambian population has increased on one hand, which brings in enormous demand. Our industrialization, if you like, effort is also consuming even too much power. And we need that to grow our economics, to create jobs, and to even have more, tax, come about. But all those things, therefore, leave us in a situation where the demand for power still remains. But there's something else that we can also do. Hopefully, there will be more and easier means through which we can have rooftop, solar systems for most households, so that at least, we cannot be overly dependent on the national, grid, all of us. So the solutions have their place. What do they say? They bespeak of the effort of somebody who cares about us, about this country, about our economics and everything else. In short, the president is having sleepless nights to ensure that he resolves this problem, and sooner or later, once the solar farms, the solar, initiatives, have given in, to the value of what those assets would be, we will soon have enough, power, at least to manage our day-to-day and domestic, means.
Solar cannot be overly depended on because obviously it's dependent with the weather pattern as
Yes.
well as the weather conditions.
Yes.
Sometimes you may not have the sun overhead for days, God forbid, months, and then it means solar is crippled or solar power is
We've
crippled.
we've never had the situation where we've gone for a week or two without.
Well, you when you
without
putting
the
up
sun.
when you planning or putting up such things, you
Sure,
have to
I hear you.
anticipate that.
Yeah, sure, okay. It's granted you.
You have to anticipate that. But then let's speak to what is the strategic thinking behind the putting up of these solars in these solar panels or plants in these areas. Are they strategic that these areas, if you have the starvation of the sun in these areas where these solar plants, you might not have that, and it's
So Lance, to help you, when putting up an investment of that, there are many processes that people do, including feasibility studies.
Exactly.
Okay. But it's not only feasibility studies. When you are starting an investment, you have a business plan. You plan your investment. You plan out of realities that you know and out of your disposition, or how much you want to even expose your money. Okay. There's what we call exposure, isn't it? So all those elements are dealt with, from the point of view of making the business a real going concern. Okay. So these, investments that are set are not small investments. They are quite good investments that are done through, thorough planning and thorough thought. Even where you're going to take that power is established. So I think that in this area, we can all continue. We'll see continuation in terms of growth, expansion. In terms of solar, farms and feeding into the national grid in terms of providing, selling, power to ZESCO and so on and so forth. But let's go back to Kariba North Bank. During PF, I think PF left the Kariba North Bank production at about 400 megawatts. The capacity could be maybe up to 1,000 megawatts. Today we're at 800 megawatts.
Are we really there? Because the load shedding that people are experiencing does not speak to 800
but remember,
megawatts.
we have said the cause of the load shedding is, one, we have got a lot of economic activity that is now taking place.
So that is at the expense of the people.
But whose investments are they, if not the people?
And of what value
if
will
you have
it
a manufacturing
be if they
company,
cannot?
if you have a manufacturing company balance and with somebody else, let's Sydney or someone, you have a manufacturing company and you are making this and you are employing 100 people. Should we just consider that it's your company, it's you alone who's consuming the power? No. So we all have to be in a clear no. And that's one thing I've always said, we will not defend ourselves, using falsehoods. President Hakainde Hichilema, what he has done in this country, what President Hakainde Hichilema has done in this country is outstanding. It's astounding. And because it is, we should never even say a lie. I'm not motivated to say a lie, and I'm not a liar. I'll support him on the basis of the truth. The man is truthful. He's worked very hard for this country, and I'll say it as it is, and I know a good man will arise out of him. Why? Because his work speak for him. So for me, the bottom line is that I think the long-term and short-term solutions are there, but also we can just have a little bit more understanding. Once all these, assets start producing to the capacities that we envision them to be, probably by, as we go towards December and, getting into next year, we should be able to see a properly ameliorated, challenge when it comes to, access to power, to energy. But also we must encourage small businesses to go rooftop, households to go rooftop, so they can have rooftop, panels on every home. Even where we construct homes, we must encourage, for those who can afford them, let's encourage one another to venture into solar energy so that we can have it, at our own, at our disposal in our own, homes. But even those that are building industries, I think it's time to start thinking about, power supply that is, more and more interested in self-generation, cities. We have no nuclear power plants here for us to talk about it. So the major alternatives that we have are hydro, is coal, it's solar to talk about. Those are really the ones that we can talk about. But we must have personal endeavors to try and make sure that we win ourselves out of the national grid, so that for the power that we can generate on our own, we can consume that and save the ones that can be generated by others for even other needy areas. And it should be the same endeavor when you are building a hospital, when you are building a classroom. We must now start thinking about rooftops at every construction stage.
Well, let me ask you a very daring question before I start picking calls.
Yes.
It's daring in this sense. The president of Zambia is just a vehicle that is being used to deliver the party's vision of this country,
yes,
which is the UPND. So, in your vision as the party, when do you think load shedding is going to be a thing of the past? When did you envision, or how did you envision ending load shedding? What was the period?
Well, the bottom line is that her wish list is one thing. Actualizing them is another.
What was your wish list?
I'm coming to you. Incidentals also arise. So I think you heard from the very beginning when the president got elected, he wanted to make sure that the load shedding was a thing of the past, and that is his endeavor. And so a man who's honestly trying to fix your problems, and is doing his best, what do? Do you pour scorn on him, or you actually encourage him to continue doing it so that one day you can resolve the problem? These are national problems. They are not personal problems. They are not. It's not like it's my personal problem and mine alone. No. We all must be concerned. If the president fails to deliver, energy across the country, even you should be concerned as a Zambian who's patriotic to this country, because you want a better, nation and a better livelihood for everybody else, isn't it? A better way of life, rather, for everybody else. So in terms of having, specific goals that by this day and that day, it is not established.
That still doesn't answer my question.
The party has not established that.
So, meaning this can be an ongoing thing for the longest period of time.
No,
as far as the UPND
I think
we
would be so simplistic at a matter if we look at it, from the point of view of a subjective judgmental, approach.
Okay.
I think we'll be more constructive and more useful if we think about it from the point of view of these are the realities we have to deal with, and this is development, and development has rules, and rules have to be followed in this context, and let's look at it as a national endeavor.
Okay.
Every Zambian wants, to have access to power, access to clean and drinking water. If you've noticed, we sang boreholes and everything else to ensure that all these can be, availed every, a Zambian.
Okay.
The greatest thing is to examine the ambition of those in authority and how their ways of doing things insofar as improving the lives, or the living standards of the Zambian people, goes. So that's where we are. And I think that there's no cutting corners. There's no falsehood. There's no, need to lie. And we do not lie. The work which has been done so far is good enough. I think there would be good tidings, glad tidings coming, after this endeavor sooner than later.
Well, 0955-221515. The phone line is now officially open. You can call us for your participation on the program, for your question to the guest, as well as your thought on what we have discussed so far. I would ask that you put on your headsets. So 0955-221515. Remember, be brief in your question and in your participation. Only a minute is given to you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You are through to the program. Your name and where you're calling from. At Vandani?
Abel Pakabwe.
Abel Pakabwe.
Yes, from Kabwe. Abel from Kabwe.
Definitely.
Deputy Director.
Deputy Media Director for the United Party for National Development.
Thank you so much. Director from Lelanda, reaching for the Sikwiindi. Now, from the far Yokumyeva coffee, I'm Yokumyinkulako. Avena Zambia, we can't go with your talks. You are good in talking over UPND. Now, we don't know if you are president or Nishi Ero Mwawanani. We can take that Kulanda Fishing at once. People are suffering. India Shiriamana, Bakateka Bachir, Central Province, Kuisura, Mama Sola, Yerama Sola, ask people Central Province, which we should work. But up to now, we're talking to our Moro Chedin, Amala to Amana 2204 in Shia. Now, Matalanda pa industry, Umuntala Bombatan, Umalanda, Matalanda, Nimo, Murata design. How can you design 22 hours in Kutusha, Romrepera, and Tomalite? Get Muveti or President Shingo at the ground in Ikawakateka, Ngadiva Zesko. People are suffering. UPND. Free education in Mareta. Muralanda Tumana when government. Ubabufukalampanga. Through for President Tumana, I am Sambira Kuita. I am Sambira for America, Mamonate. So if you say so, today and we want to Javana Venta Sambiramono, Akusumine, not in the form reaching the Batapament, so I thought
Thank you so much, Bill. All right, 0955-221515. That is the number that you are calling us on. Good morning, you are through to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Mr. Mulenga calling from
Mulenga, you can go ahead. Do you mind moving? We can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Your line is quite bad. Try calling us back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh yes. I also want to make a contribution on the program. I think I'm able to get whatever everything being discussed there. But I think for me, what I can say is that our current politicians we have at the moment is that they don't truth. Because you would find that instead of just accepting the wrong, then they would justify. Because what I've seen in this UPND government, I commend the free education, but I think there are a lot of things that they need to accept that they are not doing fine. I think once they accept, that's when they will actually start praising the people of Zambia. Because when they continue saying that no, things are okay when things are bad, then I don't think there will be, the Zambian people will be okay with that. So I think, in a nutshell, they should be accepting the wrong. When people say there is road shedding, then you can't start justifying saying that no, the road shedding has not started now. It started a long time ago. So you can't justify the fact that the standard of living has gone up when people are actually complaining. Even him, the man himself, speaking there, he knows deep down his heart that the cost of living is high, but he can't accept it because the politician is actually supporting the current government. I think what's important is accepting what is on the ground, what is happening, and then you tell the Zambian people to say that, okay, yeah, quite all right, things are bad, but we are working on this. We are trying to do this and that so that we make sure that things are okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bamuling. Let me pick one more and then
Sure.
respond to the three. 0955-221515. That's the number you are calling us on. Good morning.
Director, good morning, this morning.
Good morning. Thank
you. Thank you. This is Moses. You have brought a very wonderful program today, and I want to appreciate whatever the director is communicating to us. But
Moses, can you try to move around? Your network is pretty bad. Hello? Well, Lusaka seems to be a hub of network problems. All right, so I'm sure you got a grasp of what he was saying. Obviously, he was appreciating the fact that you are communicating very well, and probably it was just an appreciation. Or maybe, do you think I should pick one more?
Yeah, you can pick another one.
Good morning. You are through to the program. Hello, good morning.
Mkwai babomba shani
Twabomba fye bwino katwishimwe.
awo twabomba fe bwino bagesi besishani
Bwino malishani mayo ni mwe bani?
Ine bana kaonga kukabwe.
Bana kaonga kukabwe kulishani kukabwe mkwai.
Awo kulike bwino katwishimwe.
Kale vali kamkwai.
Mkwai. Ba etu ina kutika sana ko mulelanda mamona. Ilelo mwaisa mkutusalisha kyabitala namabali. Bati mwali mu opposition mwalelanda bwino sana ukulatu kwa batisa ngatuwaisa tukeza ngomera pamalaisa kwa kabelo shedi mu previous government mwali mwene kwa malaisa kwa yale mnasori ya manganda mubaraki mwali mwenepo na muli ba polisi manganda yale yapora kwa polisi na hospital mwali mwenepo roteting yabo ba UPND bomberele batyo mwatula ile na mwishi batiti chama light na mtropora sana na mutuma sana mwali leta free education baresa mbirira abana bati mwali mwana abana ko bapampara mu class mwali shi abana ko bawechikopo kisha tachonga kuna kitamo mwabona ko free education kisha kuchonga bwino abana bali fulla imana mwahipanyire free education mwahipanga ya maskulu ayifuke mwahamba se foundation siyanze mwapanga takwa badimba yakanya abana mwakikireko mwapampa abana mumakila mwahipanyire ni free education ni cash for work ni allocation pa wikalo bwe sofo turechula kwebana mayo natuchiwe n'abana beso balumendo alende sechendende mwana wandi narebe ana mbaba shop elo ino ishe twelitoa macherere kuya 05 yala bomba shari mwana ikalabe kula lulumba ningi sheanchi tomeza urapye she ukwapo kuna kukabona ngunangu te kora lenu wa UPND achaire kwa ni mwana balumende nikitira baturechulira pamo ishi mukesa asontero mukesa ingi kala pano pa musebo pesa kabo mutabiriko ko kumwatura ile kumumbe na totera mbombe.
Thank you so much, Bana Kaonge. Well, let's respond to the concerns that have come through so far.
Thank you. It's interesting. First of all, I am an honest discussant. And motivated even further to have an honest conversation with the nation, because the person who sends me here, whom I stand for here, is an honest man who works round the clock to make the lives of the Zambian people better. Now, we need to differentiate between people who are genuinely who genuinely raise voices and concerns on behalf of others, and those that, basically raise questions on behalf of a given political party. Because those, you never satisfy them. If you give them, let's say you give them, food, wunga, then there's meal, then they will shift to something else. Then you give them that, they'll shift to something else. Because for them, the problem is you who is in power. It's those issues. Because we must be realists. But every Zambian knows, we know where we're coming from. We know where we at right now and where we ought to go. So the bottom line is that I think, the solutions that I've explained with regards to load shedding are not in any way intended or even implied to be a matter of defense. No. It's not that we're defending ourselves. We are just putting it out there as it is. Now, do you accept the cost of living? Do you know that the president has never said no to the cost of high cost of living? And UPND has never ever denied the high cost of living. But here's what we are saying, and this is what I was saying. But to ameliorate those challenges, the high cost of living, okay, you have free education. Shouldn't we observe, therefore, that we have something good that helps, us keep some money which was otherwise going to be spent on education on something else? Don't we recognize that if we engage into farming, now the price of maize is at its best ever, apart from last year? It's at its best. Under this administration is where you've gotten the best price for maize. So it means that if you engage mwasombola, mwalima mwasombola kofimo, mwalashtisha ko tumo mwala kwata ko rupia ka 60 pini mwala kwata ka 50 pini mwala kwata ko tamwatala kwata po nimino kwata po. Then you'll be able to use that to change your lives, to see how that can act as a seed for you to go to another level. In short, we are saying that amidst these challenges, come on, the challenges will always be there. That's the bottom line. As long as we are mortal beings, there will always be challenges. So now, these challenges have been ameliorated they have been alleviated because we have got now productive areas. We've got people given jobs. There's now money for people who are, traders. There's now, a good environment where if you are sending somebody to primary school, secondary school, at least there's an opportunity for you to take them there for free. There's even scholarships that are administered at a council level, for those, children in secondary school. There's also trade, training, trade, skills. These days kwali banama machine yako aya kucharginga kwali banama machine yako kuchira mwamba battery kuma baba shop, and that shouldn't sound any way that I'm saying I'm being sarcastic. No, I'm basically saying that when we are faced with one problem, we learn solutions, finding solutions again around that problem. Just like last year we had the worst drought ever, maybe since 1991 in this country, maybe even worse than that. And that even the food, the UN had to declare it, and say this is a disaster. But what did that teach us? It taught us that we can ramp up on, irrigation. It also taught us that we can actually, endear ourselves to doing solar solutions in terms of our energy, structure. I have said here that the solutions, tamwatala abama solar farms, ayalingefi, the ones that we are doing now, that's a solution. You should commend it. And we must pray that we must increase on that. PF left a huge debt in Mamba collieries. That debt has all of it been offset by the government, in order for us to free Mamba to not only run the asset as they have it now, but to be able to do a scale up, to be able to produce more, in order to satisfy our needs. And I've just said here, the studies have been, in the processes of getting Snazeze into a possible, coal mine, that area is also in place. So we know that there are solutions that are being done to our challenges. I have also explained the issue of, 3 million people against over 20 million people. So now that's where we are. So again, we have also explained, if we are talking about the cost of living, we must be productive ourselves. And being productive does not only mean you must get a job. You must also, endeavor to work for yourself, whether in business, whether it's in farming, and so on and so forth, in order to generate, income to support ourselves. But if you have no job, you are jobless, like me, you cannot, hope, to satisfy your food basket if you don't earn. You can't. You are actually far from it. So now the challenges that we face, that beset us, are challenges that are being addressed. And this government has never said there's no load shedding. We have said here is the challenge, and this is how we're working against it. We were hoping that this would have not come to this end then, but now we have hit with this reality that we are working on. But here's a piece of information to you as a Zambian. One of the reasons why we have a shortage of power, there's so much demand on power. How? We have to produce our copper because our manufacturing sector must make things, because Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia must produce, is producing even more now. So because of that, the demand for power has gone high, and the provision is still living in rustic settings. We are still struggling there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue picking calls. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And how are you?
Good. Good.
Your name and where you're calling from?
Asani got from the
Sorry, didn't get your name.
Asani.
Sani.
Hassani.
Yes.
Hassan. Okay.
Mr. Deputy Director, how are you?
I'm okay, sir. How are you today?
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I've been listening to the conversation from the beginning of that head, and I've heard every conversation about there. Now,
I can't hear him.
Yeah, I equally can't hear him. Mr. Hassan, can you hear us? Okay, kindly try to call back 0955-221515. That's the number that you are calling us in the studio. Let me pick one or two messages from Facebook and YouTube. So this one is coming from YouTube. This is Gideon. He says, free education now in Zambia is back to 70s. Let's move with time. One class, you have above 90 students against one teacher. That is a problem, the media director. Okay, so Facebook, this is Vinja Siwale. He says, morning, Mr. Situla. Learn to appreciate what other successive governments had done. Further, stop praising yourself that your party has done well. No, sir. Okay, then, well, let's pick this call. Good morning. Hello, good morning. You're through to the program. Hello, good morning.
Okay, maybe we can respond to the two that are clear, because we can't.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Mr. Zulu from
Mr. Wilson.
Bruce Zulu.
Okay, from Tendere. Okay, you can go ahead with your contribution. Okay, we can hardly hear him. Sorry, I had to let go of him. So maybe just this other one before you respond, from Nonde Mulenga. He says, just from the way you are responding, Director, one can tell that this nation cannot develop with such leaders. So yeah, we can
again, when someone has got an informed opinion of not wanting to listen, our job is to just say the truth. So if Banonde thinks this truth is inimical to his establishment, it's up to him. I have no control over that, element. But you see, the nation, the truth of the matter is that the nation knows. Just like, I don't know the name of the person who says, learn from what others have done and things like that.
That's Vinja Siwale.
Yes, Mr. Swale. And you went further, he was talking about,
let me just read it for you again. So
Yes.
he says, morning, Mr. Situla.
Yes.
Learn to appreciate what other successive governments had done.
Yes.
And further, stop praising yourself that your party has done well.
Exactly. So stop praising yourself that the party has done. Look, we are not praising ourselves. We are only telling you, in short, consider this as a report to the Zambian people on the state. Remember, we were coming from the point of view of 4 years of UPND government.
Exactly.
So what have we done? We are reporting back to our masters, the Zambian people. And we have a lot of respect, for that. But we have got Zambians who have got partisan interests, like we ourselves are in politics. We have got partisan interests. So they have every right to, see darkness where there's light. And contrive a state of being dead eyes in the presence of light. It's up to them. It's a choice that they make, for themselves. So the bottom line is the reason why there was massive voter, turnout and voted, PF out of government is because they didn't like what they were doing. Okay. And we are cautious. We as UPND are cautious of our masters. And so we will not be afraid to tell you what needs to be told to you as a matter of fact of what is obtaining on the ground. So 90 students in one classroom, we must give ourselves accolades that children who are now staying away from school are now more in school. So don't only look at it from a negative end, point of view. Look at it also from a positive, point of view. That a lot of time, abana bale butuka kuma school. Abafyashita balefaya amano kuko batibaye ku school bale watu mwefe ku garden kali tatukwetendera mashakulipira ku school. So but nomba bale ya ku school. So nomba nga bale sambirira abengi muwingi wabo bambo kuya ku school. Ifwe kutte mwakabiri. Now what do we have to do, which is the advice that the brother was talking about, I guess, by talking 90 people in one classroom. We have employed more teachers. We will continue to employ more teachers. We will continue to build classrooms. There's a solution there. We will continue to make desks. So that's not an excuse. So let's look at what motivates somebody to say what they say as they have said, as these two have said. Sometimes we are motivated to say the things that we say because we represent a particular party. Or no, we just believe in Bayama. As long as Bayama, so it's like that. So it is established of us. The bottom line, we've made a lot of progress as a country, and we must be proud of it ourselves, even if we don't want to assign that, in approbations, to giving approbations to a particular group of people. But we must rejoice in it ourselves. Every Zambian must be glad that, now when you grow maize you can sell and make money. Even if you don't want to mention who caused that, it's good enough that you say that at least nombanga na alima nti na nabyala bwino nsombola ko bwino napanga ko tundalama nishi fyala kako. You don't necessarily have to say that we don't claim that. We don't demand that from you. But I think that the country is on a good trajectory. There's now order, there's respect, there is, engagement, there's investment in the social sector. All retirees have been paid back that was a promissory, element of the, of the elections, the successive elections, in which UPND participated, and that has been delivered. And we are proud of that ourselves as UPND. And I know that every retiree who was basically every day, if you remember the site we used to seek Minister of Finance, I'm a protesting, what, no watcher. That is not there now. People have been paid. We can say thank you. Now there's order, there's respect, and takuli, somebody comes to beat you, Bantu you watch Panichi, but you are not supposed to be in this market. Feel safe if you are. We are still going forward. So investments, cooperatives, the farming opportunities, either the business opportunities. Now, if we learn to just businesses so that we can create millionaires among ourselves as Zambia, it's very important. We've supported everything sensible in terms of something that raises hope for the future, generations. Most of the jobs and most of the products that have been given out have been favoring the youth. So which means that a lot of deliverables have been given in respect of supporting young people in this country.
Well, let's pick the last set, of course. Good morning, through to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, the gentleman in the studio.
Good morning, sir. My name is Sikwiindi Situla.
Okay, my name is Collins. I'm calling you from Mozambique.
Thank you so much.
Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Yes, I think I want to comment on the issue of road shedding. In the road shedding, we have one, no matter how much you defend it or shine it, this is the worst road shedding in the history of Zambia. And moreover, it's something, the most thing that is hating. This government has continued importing power, has continued exporting power. This is what hating so much on the export of the poor Zambians. For them, it's okay. So they can manage it. They can manage it. What about the people in the compound? Come in the compound, you see. Come in the compound.
Mr. Collins, do we still have you? Okay, looks like we've lost him. 0955. You would want to respond right away?
Yes, let me maybe just respond right away for him because he was talking about we've continued to export. You see, first of all, ngawaya kuchipatala, kwali baba laba doctor abala bako bati nawe wala bafe wino na wisho ifintu tafikosede ifintu filife wino ifi. Then there will be a doctor who should be able to tell you professionally, you have a problem here, you have a problem here. Apa, we need to amputate your hand, your leg in order for us to save this. So you will choose what you want to hear. Okay. The bottom line is that in terms of the accusation of exports, we used to export 120, megawatts to Congo. That has been cut to 60. Okay, that's reduction. That's being reason is because we want to make sure that we are saving the Zambia, even when we've got contractual obligations. Namibia, we used to export 180 megawatts. We're now only exporting 80. We've reduced 100. Okay. Zimbabwe has been reduced to 0. We used to export, 100 megawatts to Zimbabwe. We are now basically exporting 0 to Zimbabwe. Botswana, we export a minimal. We make a minimal export there of less than 20 megawatts. So the reason why we explain these things, we know that there are out of 20 million Zambians, there are many Zambians who are not necessarily in any partisan position and who want to hear facts as they are and who appreciate the efforts that are being made and who soon will come over this cave. And it was a problem. If PF had continued to be in government, we would not even be talking here. First of all, we would have just been beaten, and this radio station would have been one of those closed because you've hosted me here. Okay, so we are at a better footing. We know that, and the common Zambian, genuine Zambian, knows very well where we are, and they appreciate the efforts that are being made by the Zambian by this administration, and I think that that's where we are.
Well, let's pick this last call. Good morning.
Mwauka.
Tauka bwino mwaka bwanje.
Tauka bwino. Mamake Angela pa Garden Chiro.
Amake Angela munga ponye pomao.
Nfuno kamba bupali awo bali mu studio media director ba UPND. Kamba tabesirunga deputy media director.
Yes.
Kamba tabesirungamo ba deputy media director ba UPND. UPND abweresa mavuto iyo free education amene mukamba yo ndiye aleta mavuto kopo wesu maskulu mukayangana mwamene wenzo akambira bamayi wanakaonga baokabwe malaiti kulibe bana batu ma industries mashito wanayekiwa si bose bangasebenze mupoma mukaona naife tumafriji twatu mu compound umu tenzoesera yako uzadobako tunao tuwaponya yako mfriji mafriji manje tinambopaka musapato so iboma yanu tabe poverty kulibe vabwino vametiona pa boma ya UPND kamba tabe chirungamo iboma yanu yoka
Engenja I want to engenja nikufunse na mali amai nikufunse na
nifunse
okay so amai muntu wakakamba kuti mwana wanu apasa wenda ku university then mulibe ndalama then boma ya pasa ndalama is that not progress
kuenda ku university
niambira uko nifutizabwera pansi because let's engage
wakapasa kwenda ku university boma ya Sandra
then boma ya kupasa ya mpasa scholarship mwana wanu isi progress
like yamene inankanda ni bangono amene bachapene
nikamba chisi progress first of all tikalibo kamba namba chweni ndilenza kupasani namba
palibe na progress mutipasa tabe ma pressure
okay so taziba kuti imwe kulibe chabwino chamene mungatashe chamene UPND ngachi
mberani lekani ndikuzeni
ndi mwamene
mberani ndikuzeni olobana kuti ma university ndama zametingere samulo kudya miwa allowance yabiri ane muzimverera kulibe
nanga pampa harvest mukuti pobwanji pakuti manje
pampa harvest
mukuti pobwanji
pampa harvest unga 270
anikamba pampa harvest mukuti ko bwanji
paribe na baba
nanga maritarizi kubalipira ndalama mukuti ko bwanji
Nibandani walitayi wanatenga ndama pakuti maritarizi
so kasi kulipe mabili kasi taona kuti imwe vose
ni kuuze ni vose ni wabuti chakala lekani siriziso kukamba mwendo nifunza lekani siriziso kukamba lekani siriziso
you have a few minutes
2 minutes kali mwendo nifunza lekani nikambe tabechirunga kukamba tabechirunga mwiboma ya UPND ndiye the West government from a government yonse siboma yakutinga trust na futa ningati abeyo batosa pa 2026 zikomo tewenzani bwino timbese
zikomo makanje well let's well you already engaged there. Yes. Let's hear your closing remarks.
So I think that where we are, honestly speaking, this country has made a lot of progress, and Zambians must not worry about people who will not see anything good because they have a partisan position. So we respect them as politicians in this space, even when they are, they call. But the ordinary Zambian knows very well where this country where this country was and where we have brought it to and where it ought to go, where we are going. And I think there's a lot of hope in the future. A lot of things have been done and they will continue. We will continue to do them. We are not worried about hecklers and we are not worried about, partisan, opinions which they would want to display as, everyone's opinion. So, but that's their right. You see, they have a democratic right to raise those opinions without anybody forcing them to say otherwise. And so it was a good conversation, which we had. And I think that, there's a reason why even people like, President Nevas Mumba, have, endorsed President Hakainde Hichilema for continuity. And there'll be many people coming, along the way to do that. And the reason is simple. He has, given out, demonstrated, exemplary leadership, caring for the every Zambian, regardless of their status, regardless of their economic status, and regardless of where they come from. And CDF has been given largely to help, to give people means by which they can help themselves in delivering development in their localities. So all these things have been done, by courtesy of the Zambian people, and the president is cautious of that fact, that the Zambian people entrusted us with these responsibilities to deliver to the Zambian people, and we're doing our best and will continue to do our best until this country can enter the brackets of the middle income, country, sooner than later.
Well, so before I go, I've just been reminded, it seems like politicians, you always find a wrong time to say wrong things.
Okay.
One of your members, Paul Monga, told the Zambian people to say, if you want cheap mealie meal, produce your own. And that statement has not sat very well with a number of people. You are deputy media director. How did you receive this message? And how do you hope to engage with this member of your party in a way that he should be engaging the people, especially as far as communication is concerned?
Well, the bottom line is that people communicate differently. I think that let's examine the intention of what he said. The bottom line, I think you heard me here saying, let's encourage one another to get engaged into business. Let's encourage one another to grow, our own food and get into agriculture as a business. It should be just that. But if it sounded sarcastic, we apologize for that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming through. Really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right. And our dear listener, this is where we end today's edition of the Burning Issue program. My guest in the studio was Mr. Sikwiindi Situla, who is the United Party for National Development, UPND Deputy Media Director. Let me also be thankful and grateful to our partner radio stations that carried this program live on their respective radio stations. That is Spice FM in Central Province, Tuta FM in Mansa, as well as Platinum Radio in Ndola, Katete in Eastern Province, and ZFM in Kapiri, Mposhi. Well, God willing, catch up with Zach on Thursday as he comes back with the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. My name is Lance Sannie Banda, and I've been sitting in for Zachariah Banda. Have a blessed day.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation. Democracy and freedom of expression is about